Delete every Argentine from Premier League history, and Manchester City's trophy room immediately develops a missing shelf. People assume this is only the Sergio Aguero argument. It is not. The same erasure reaches Villa, Tottenham, Chelsea, United, and Liverpool. One country runs through 6 club stories, and removing it makes the league feel less like history and more like a broken edit. I watched this league on a laptop under my desk at 9 a.m., pretending the screen contained something responsible, like a spreadsheet. It was May 13, 2012, and Manchester City were losing to relegation-threatened QPR, while Manchester United had already finished their own game. The title looked gone. United were waiting to celebrate. City had spent years building toward this moment, and the moment was refusing to cooperate. Then Sergio Aguero scored. One touch ended City's 44-year wait and pulled the trophy away from United at the exact second history seemed settled. Remove Aguero from that stadium, and you do not simply remove a famous goal. You disturb the foundation of Manchester City's modern identity. The ownership project still exists. The money still exists. The squad still exists. But its defining proof no longer arrives on schedule. And that is the first strange part. Giant football systems often explain themselves through one tiny, irreversible action. But Aguero is only the doorway into the bigger question. How much of the modern Premier League survives when one country disappears? Stay in Manchester, because the damage does not stop at 93-20. Nicolas Otamendi later becomes part of City's title-winning defensive machinery. He was not flawless, and his positioning attracted criticism, but that is exactly why the pattern matters more than a heroic highlight reel. Argentina's influence did not arrive as a perfect golden generation. It arrived as useful, difficult players occupying positions where trophies were about to move. Then Julian Álvarez enters City after Argentina's 2022 World Cup victory and contributes inside the squad that completes the 2023 treble. By now, the argument is no longer that one Argentine created Manchester City. That would be silly, and City's accountants might demand a correction. The point is that Argentina keeps appearing at the precise junction where a major English football story becomes permanent. Now leave Manchester and look at Aston Villa, a club that spent years outside the Champions League conversation. Emiliano Martínez arrives, and Villa's identity begins to harden around a goalkeeper already associated with pressure, penalties, and Argentina's World Cup triumph. Villa eventually returned to Europe's top competition after more than 4 decades, with Martínez becoming one of the most recognizable faces of that transformation. Remove him, and the rise may still happen, but it loses the personality that made the rise feel believable. That distinction matters. Football history is not only the table. It is the face supporters attached to the moment the table finally changes. Then Tottenham raised the stakes. 17 years without a trophy is long enough for disappointment to stop feeling temporary and start behaving like club culture. In May 2025, Tottenham beat Manchester United 1-0 in the Europa League final, with Romero captaining the side and earning Player of the Match. Months later, the club makes him permanent captain. Tottenham does not merely employ an Argentine defender, it hands him the symbol of responsibility. Without Romero, Spurs may still win that final. Counterfactual football is not mathematics, no matter how confidently television graphics pretend otherwise. But remove the captain and best player from that night, and Tottenham's drought-ending story becomes harder to recognize as the same story. This is where the pattern stops looking like a collection of imports and starts looking like a league-wide dependency. Chelsea builds a chaotic post-Abramovich midfield around Enzo Fernandez, a young World Cup winner signed for what was then a club record fee. Manchester United repeatedly turns to Lisandro Martínez as a defensive reference point, while the structure around him keeps changing. Liverpool then wins the 2024-25 Premier League title with Alexis Mac Allister operating as a central part of its midfield. City's launch, Villa's return, Tottenham's release, Chelsea's rebuild, United's defense, Liverpool's title. Different clubs, different problems, the same national thread. Call it the Argentina Tax. Not because Argentine players secretly control English football, and not because every ambitious club literally needs one before the transfer window closes. It is a tax, because removing them makes the bill for recent Premier League history suddenly much larger than their small numbers suggest. Brazil, France, and the Netherlands have influenced the league just as deeply, often with larger groups and more obvious visibility. Coaches, ownership money, recruitment departments, and players from everywhere did most of the construction. Argentina did not build the entire house. It just kept holding the key when somebody needed to open the trophy room. That is also what makes the argument uncomfortable. We like dynasties to feel inevitable, because inevitability makes organizations look intelligent. But Aguero's goal was not inevitable. Martinez's symbolism was not guaranteed. Romero's final was not an item waiting on Tottenham's calendar. These were players inside systems, but the systems still needed human beings to survive the exact moments when their reputations could break. So picture the removal again. United celebrate the 2012 title instead of watching City take it. Villa's European return loses its goalkeeper-shaped identity. Tottenham's drought-breaking captain disappears. Liverpool's title midfield loses Mac Allister. Chelsea's rebuild loses Fernandes. And United's defense loses one of its clearest points of reference. None of that proves every result reverses. It proves something more defensible, and honestly more interesting. The same history becomes far less inevitable. Go back to the laptop under my desk. I opened it expecting a normal Sunday shift on QPR, and watched a football language I did not grow up speaking turn a corporate project into memory. Years later, the names have changed, the clubs have changed, and the trophies keep finding the same blue and white fingerprints. Take Argentina out, and the trophies still get lifted. They just stop being worth learning anyone's name. It just stops looking like the league we remember.